Hi everybody, this is Son of the Hande, and as you can see, this is Adventure Island 2! This is a game that I got as a present, Christmas present to be precise, and yeah. And hopefully you can notice, I at least hope you can, that the image quality is a little bit better than in some of my most recent Let's Plays, and I am actually playing this on an NES, and I got a new capture card. I actually bought, it's kind of funny, I was buying a capture card for my grandpa because he was wanting to transfer some old home movies to his computer, and so I ordered this one just to try it out. It seemed like a really good model, so I decided to get myself one as well. The video quality looks pretty okay, I think, right now. And I do actually believe I have played this specific game on the NES like a long time ago. I don't know what the friggin' skateboard every time feels like such a non-necessity, really. Oh yeah, you do want to kill enemies in this though, because the points are the things that give you extra lives in this. I forget how many it is. I think it's like something like maybe 20,000 points or so. Yeah. So I decided not to just test it out on the Pokemon Nuzlocke Let's Play, because honestly I'm not really in the mood to play Pokemon yet. I will be coming back to it, and I have an idea right now how to progress, because, well, Jesus Christ, got killed by this frog. Okay, so I'll be saving up my Dynamasaur for later. But yeah, so I kind of just wanted to, play a game just for the funsies. And there was another game that I did actually get, an NES game that I did actually get very recently, and I was actually thinking of doing that, but that game is called Side Pocket, and it's a piece of hot garbage. It's probably one of the worst billiards games I've ever played. I might still play it at some point, just for shits and giggles. But yeah, so, okay, is this the... this is the... Okay, I found the cheat. Would you like to skip this island? So, no, not yet. God damn it! Like I only just got started. I want to show this off. There's a level skip code as well. This game is actually legitimately really hard, and it's actually surprising. Anyway, so it's the end of my winter holiday week when I'm recording this, and I went on a little trip to Iceland. So I've been planning on doing it for a while now. And the reason I wanted to go to Iceland is that a few years ago already, as a part of my job, I actually went to Iceland. I was escorting some students to a school project thing. Yeah, what you really need are the fruits though, because this is one of those games where your health ticks away the longer you play. I think I'm very close to getting that first extra life. So, yeah, anyway, and I've been thinking about going back to Iceland for a while. Now, originally, my plans for my Iceland trip were a lot more ambitious, and they kind of got, changed along the way. Because originally, I wanted to go to Vatnajökull, which is the big glacier, the one that you can actually see from the plane. And when the first few years ago, a couple of years ago when I was already considering going back there by myself, because I knew the hotel now where I'd been. I knew how to get from the airport to the city, because you don't actually fly directly to Reykjavik. You actually, you actually have to go to you end up to the airport. The big airport is in a place called Keflavik, and you have to take a bus there. But anyway, I had done that rigmarole already once, so I knew my route, and so that's why I decided, well, hey, I want to go back there. And I like nature stuff, so that's why, I was originally thinking, I really want to go see Vatnajökull, but the more that I looked at it, I came to the realization that, okay, if I do go to, if I do go there, then I'll just spend most of the trip I'm going to be spending on buses, because the problem is that a lot of the buses only like travel to and fro across Reykjavik, and you can drive. I mean, Iceland. I mean, you can drive around Iceland if you want, but you know, it still takes a long way to get in. You know, it takes a long time to get anywhere just by bus. So basically, I would have been spending most of my like days in Iceland in a freaking bus, and you know. And here's the thing, like, I don't love flying. But once you're in the air, it's okay. But I hate the takeoff. I hate the landing every time. Like, I don't have a fear of flying, but I just find that part of the experience just very unpleasant. And I've been actually thinking about like, so eventually I decided like, okay, I don't want to spend if I'm gonna go over there, I don't want to spend like the whole time just in a friggin' bus. That feels like a waste of time. You know, even though you do get to look outside, like there's actually something to look outside in a window. But, you know, eventually I decided, well, I didn't really get to see Reykjavik that much on my trip as well, because, you know, I was there for, you know, work purposes. We saw a little bit of it, obviously, but most of the time we spent there at the school. So, you know, I decided like, well, okay, what the hell? So I basically went into full museum nerd mode. I got myself one of those city card thingies, and then I just basically just went through as many of the museums as I could muster. Like at the end of the day, you know, I don't mind walking, but I realized very quickly that Iceland is also like a very, very car-centric society. Like, yeah, downtown Reykjavik, absolutely, you can get anywhere by walking, because it's like it's one of those touristy trap thingies. The nice thing about that is that there is a lot of stuff to go to, and if you just want to go eat somewhere, like there's a lot of places you can go eat, and most of them are pretty nice. But yeah, if you go anywhere outside like the very central area, like, you know, it's very obvious that everywhere is just designed to be driven to by a car. So that's something that was a little bit disappointing to discover. I mean, Iceland is a weird place. You know, it is in the middle of the Atlantic, so I should, you know, probably expect this. So there's certain things that are very, like, familiar if you've been to any Nordic countries. Like, in a certain way, it was very familiar. Like, you know, even the electrical plugs are the same as in Finland, and some of the brands and products are the same. But then there is, and this is the thing that I find so weird, is that, you know, there's a lot of American brands. The thing that I can never get over is the fire hydrants, that they have those, you know, American-style fire hydrants in the street. That always feels so weird to me. And then the language is also kind of weird, because it's not like the other Scandinavian languages. Finnish is also, you know, not like that anyway. Finnish is completely its own thing, but it's kind of funny, and you know, I do love, you know, because I had to keep reciting with myself the street names and things so that I could get, you know, the Baronstigur is the one that I had to basically memorize, because that was the street that I used to get to the bus terminal. But yeah, so wow, no hammers, huh? Okay. I probably should have picked up one. I should have probably used one of my hammers that I had in the inventory. Overall, so I thought that it was a fun time, because it is an island, just like in the UK. You gotta get prepared though that that for one part of the day weather might be nice, then for this other part of the day weather might be complete shite. And that's exactly what it was like. And usually in the mornings it was pretty good, and which was nice, because but I hate the fact that like everything only opens at like 10 o'clock, and I'm the kind of guy who wakes up early. So I eventually kind of realized, like, yeah, until it's like 9:30, you don't really need to go anywhere, because nowhere's open and stuff like that. Like but the only thing is, like, if you want to go for a walk in peace with there not being like a million cars, you know, around, then the early mornings is fine. But, you know, other than that, you just start to appreciate like how short the time window is for anything to be open when you realize that. Like restaurants and stuff, yeah, they're open like pretty late, of course. But like I said, like for me, it became like a museum trip thing. And you know, I didn't get to visit every museum. I did manage to. I tried to fit in like at least 2 places where I could visit on each trip. Okay, now I get to cheese the rest of the level. Except, do I want to attack? Well, I'm already here. Was this the boss fight already? It was. Oh god, okay. Okay, but this one was luckily pretty easy. Yeah, but it's also got something that it's been a sufficiently long enough time that, you know, that I've had to reserve like a hotel room for myself and everything that unfortunately I'd made a little bit of an oopsie also. I thought that I had gotten like an early check-in thing and I hadn't, so when I arrived in Reykjavik off the bus, the way that I was carrying the stuff, I had a backpack and then I had one of those, I don't know what you would call that. It's just a bag that you hang over your shoulder with a strap. So, because I thought that this is the easiest way for me to carry my stuff. I don't like a big bag that I just have to like lug around with my arm because my arms are gonna get tired. Like if I can just throw it on and then I just book it to the hotel, then you know I can make it pretty easily. But yeah, then I couldn't check in at the point when I wanted to check in, so then I had to go on a little side quest basically. You know, first of all, just to go somewhere to eat. But I also had to make a strategic choice not to eat something that would make me have to go to the bathroom because I'm lugging these fucking bags around. And then after that the whole thing, I came back to I was coming back to the hotel and it was still too early to check in. I didn't even go in. I knew that they're not gonna have the stuff ready for me. So then I went and got the goddamn city card. And luckily the guy at the museum, it was a weird-looking tiny museum that I went to. It was really nice. He actually gave me like a whole list of things. I managed to take a picture with my phone of like all the places where I could use that card. It was actually pretty like helpful because, you know, it meant that I didn't have to go to the website all the time to check it. And most of the, you know, locations were pretty decent. I think the only ones that were a bit of a disappointment was the National Gallery. And that was more just because they just had 3 displays that I wasn't into. But I also kind of noticed this about myself. Like, I am a bit of a, you know, if it's art, I'm not like snooty or anything. Like, you know, as long as like I can go around the exhibits and they're fun to look at, you know, do whatever. Like, you know, art is art. But I have started to notice that I don't like video installations in art museums. I think that's such a goddamn waste of space. And literally, like at the main, like one of the exhibits at the main, was it Hafnarhus, I think was the main art museum. Like they had this whole big empty space, and all they had were a couple of rocks, and then there was like a 15-minute video, like a short movie running there. And I think that the reason I fucking hate that, like if I want to just like sit on my ass and look at a fucking video, I can do that at home. Like I don't need to go to a museum to, you know, do that. And that's the thing that kind of pissed me off about, like, you know, like I think there should be like either a dedicated place for those, you know, terrible art movies, or or you know, just put them on YouTube, you know, or like everybody else. That's basically what I'm getting at. But you know, but other than that, so I went to the tiny weird museum that had Svensson's things, and Svensson is the, you know, the big you know, sculptor guy whose statues are all over Reykjavik. And I was actually, that was, you know, it was a tiny museum, but I actually really liked it because all the little statuettes, they were so close to each other. The thing that I liked about it was the fact that, you know, because it was kind of an intimate experience, actually. Like, you know, you get to get really close to the, you know, works and actually like go right up to them more or less. And it was, you know, totally fine and okay, and I like that. And the House of Collections, that was probably by far the GOAT of the experience. Reykjavik Zoo, it was more of a petting zoo. I should, you know, And because it's winter, yeah, the animals weren't very active, so yeah, it was a bit of a letdown. I like the seals. The seals were cute. I liked them, but yeah, I definitely realized after getting indoors, like in there, like, you know, I got in free because I had the CD card thing, but yeah, so I realized like, okay, so this is like meant for like really small children. So, you know, they had like cows and pigs and goats and horses and stuff, and lots of birds. That's something that I did like about Reykjavik and Iceland in general, like, because in Finland, of course, you know, we have the ocean nearby, but it freezes in the winter, so that's why there aren't a lot of birds around. And in Iceland, there are. And for a bird watching, you know, nut job like myself, that was really cool. I saw a lot of birds over there. Particularly, I like the blackbirds. There's a lot of blackbirds, especially in the Reykjavik area, and they sound really, really nice. I saw a raven. And I'm about to get a game over on this bitch because I'm playing like shit. Okay. All right. But yeah, okay, I have enough hammers. I can hammer it up a bit. Yeah, so, and geese and seagulls and things. And usually, like, the geese were just randomly flying over the city anyway, so it was always really fun to look at. Like, I like that, because that's the thing that I hate in Finland in winter, is that, you know, unless you go, like, deep into the woods, there probably aren't a lot of birds around. In the cities, you can get, like, a magpie and a crow sometimes, but not much else. You know what I gotta say? I did think Perlan was is the big natural museum. It was not part of the city card thing. It's a private museum. I felt that it was a bit of a ripoff, to be honest. But I did get to see a big ass shrimp, so and the restaurant was, good. So, but yeah, that was maybe one of the few like real bummers, and I was extra salty about it because that was the day when I decided to go there. That. When it rained, it rained actual water. I was actually prepared. I took my long rubber boots with me because the last time I went, it was raining a lot. But this time there was actually snow on the ground. And luckily it only rained on that one day, like actual water. Then the rest of the time it snowed. But like I said, then when it did snow, it was, it tended to snow quite heavily, so I'm not saying like, it wasn't necessarily like a nice thing to walk around in the snow. And then the temperature kept going, above 0 centigrade. So it meant that, there would be snow on the ground and then it would start to melt. So I did end up having, so I have winter boots, but the winter boots are not like fully like waterproof. They'll keep most of the water in, but if you like go into like a big puddle or something, like, water's gonna get in them. So it was a bit of a strategy to just kind of figure out like what shoes to wear now, so that I minimize my feet getting wet. And you're gonna get a little wet anyway. Like it's luckily, it's just gonna happen. But like. What I didn't want to happen was on my last trip when I went there, and I only had my winter boots, and they were okay for a little while, but like when your feet are like constantly just wet, it's just kind of like a bit of a bummer. But like a net plus, I would say the whole trip as a whole was a net plus. Oh yeah, and the National History Museum was also awesome. There were a lot of cool things, including what I was a bit disappointed. It was mostly like, settlement, Icelandic settlement history and a little bit about a lot about the Christianization and things, but like not a lot about like contemporary history, or 20th century history. The only thing that was that they did have a section on the 20th century and how Icelandic lifestyle changed. And it was on this like flat long table, and it went all the way from 1900, to the 1990s. And the 80s section especially, I love that because they had an IBM compact computer there, and also oh yeah, this is the only thing that sucks though. Now I don't have any items. And an actual Atari 7800, which kind of blew my mind. Like, you know, of all the places to run into that, it was kind of funny. Like, overall, I did like the trip. Now, on the way back, unfortunately, my flight was already, like, you know, I had to stop by in Helsinki first before I got on the second flight to go back, you know, back to hometown, home base, if you will. We were already like 2 hours late because of things that are going on in the world. It had kind of put the whole Helsinki airport into a bit of a shambles, and then unfortunately, just as we were taking off, we got some extra snow, so they had to de-ice the plane again. And before I got on the plane, they said that, you know, I'd still have like a half an hour to make my next flight, but you know, that was the thing that broke the camel's back. Unfortunately, like, I missed the second flight, and so I mean, I got to spend, you know, a free hotel night at the airport, but still, like, I think anybody in my situation probably feels the same way. Like, I much rather would have been home, especially because I would have liked to have had some stuff to do. The only positive was that the hotel actually had a laundromat, so I got to, you know, wash my clothes, and, you know, then I had actually like clean clothes, which you know, if I had to be like in my own sweaty, nasty ass clothes there for another night, like that would have really sucked. That would have really sucked. But they did get me a flight on the following day. The thing that pissed me off a little bit about it was that, you know, it was pretty late in the afternoon, so. And, you know, you have to check out of those places at, you know, noon anyway. So then I had like almost 5 hours I had to kill at the fucking airport, which I hated. Like, you know, which I think I'm not alone on that. I think most people don't like airports very much. I don't like that there's a lot of people around, and there's not a lot of like quiet places you can just sit down and for it to be quiet. And obviously everything's pretty pricey. That wasn't a problem for me because, you know, I wouldn't be going to Iceland if it had been an issue. Oh my god. Yeah, I think I'm getting ready to end this session because I'm playing like absolute shit right now. Would I recommend Iceland? Yeah, absolutely. But like, you know, I would recommend like the thing that I want to go do, and I will definitely maybe pull off that Vatnajökull trip one of these days, but it has to be longer than a week because I would need a, you know, unwinding day after freaking sitting on a bus. I would not want to go spend 5 hours in a freaking airplane, you know, the next day after something like that. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed this little session of Adventure Island 2, and see you on the next one. Bye-bye.